This Reddit thread was almost deleted because what they experienced in the frozen wilderness breaks an ancient Ojibwe rule. A rule that's kept people alive in Minnesota's boundary waters for centuries. Last winter, a user named Wilderness Watcher posted something that still haunts the paranormal community. They were 4 days into a solo winter camping trip when temperatures plunged to minus 30 degrees Celsius, the kind of cold that kills exposed skin in minutes. That's when they heard it. A voice calling their name from deep in the forest. Not just any voice, their mother's voice, crying for help. But their mother lived 300 miles away in Minneapolis. The voice grew closer, begging them to come into the darkness. Wilderness Watcher described something moving through the deep snow at a natural speed, circling their campsite just beyond the firelight. Every time they tried to look directly at it, the movement stopped. Here's what saved them. They remembered their grandfather's words about building a cedar fire. They gathered every piece of cedar they could find and fed the flames until dawn. The voice grew frustrated, then angry, then silent. When morning came, they found tracks in the snow, human footprints that stretched impossibly long between steps. To understand this encounter, we need to explore the Ojibwe understanding of the Windigo. Not as a literal monster, but as a spiritual concept representing the dangerous hunger that can consume both body and soul during harsh winters. White Earth Ojibwe oral traditions speak of 3 sacred warnings passed down through generations. First, never speak its name in the winter woods. The very act of naming it in the cold can draw its attention to you. Second, ashwood carries protective power. Many Ojibwe families still burn ash during the darkest winter months, believing it creates a barrier against spiritual hunger. Third, when you hear voices mimicking loved ones in the wilderness, cover your ears and do not respond. The tradition teaches that acknowledging these false calls feeds the very thing you're trying to avoid. These weren't just superstitions, they were survival instructions for people living through months of isolation, extreme cold, and dwindling food supplies. The Windigo represented the very real psychological break that could occur when desperation took hold. Dr. Margaret Smith, an enrolled member of the White Earth Nation and professor of Indigenous Studies, explains it this way. Our stories teach that the true danger isn't supernatural. It's the hunger that twists human hearts in desperate times. The Windigo isn't something that hunts you from outside. It's the darkness that grows within when we lose our connection to community and the natural world. This understanding makes the Reddit encounter even more chilling. Wilderness Watcher was alone, cold, and increasingly isolated from human contact. The exact conditions traditional stories warn against.
The cedar fire that saved them? Cedar has always been considered sacred by many indigenous communities. It's used in purification ceremonies and is believed to offer spiritual protection. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, that knowledge came from somewhere real. Today, climate change is creating more extreme winter conditions across the Great Lakes region. Record cold snaps, unprecedented ice storms, and longer periods of isolation for those who venture into the wilderness. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources reports a 40% increase in winter rescue operations over the past decade. More people are finding themselves in exactly the situations that gave birth to Windigo stories centuries ago. So what really happened to Wilderness Watcher in those frozen woods? Was it hypothermia-induced hallucination, a genuine supernatural encounter, or something in between, the awakening of an ancient warning system, coded into stories that have kept people alive for generations? Maybe the real Wendigo isn't a creature at all. It's our disregard for nature's balance and the hunger that grows when we forget the wisdom of those who survived these lands long before us.